Thank you for guest starring, Lisa. We'll see if anyone else pops in. But yeah, today we are gathered here to talk about Saint Maud from 2019, also from 2020, also from 2021, a COVID era movie. So it's vague as to when it officially came out. But yeah, I thought we could go around to do our quick intros as usual and tell us what your relationship is with Saint Maud or anything else Rose Glass, the director, has done if you're familiar with her. But I'll start with Lisa.
I have no relationship with this movie at all. And in fact, when you brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, it's like, sorry to use the term, it's spooky season. And so I was like, I'm getting back into my horror watching alone because none of my family likes any of that stuff. I made my son watch The Oddity with me while my husband was away, and he was like, never again, no. And I was like, okay, but I love this whole thing. This is, like I said, it's right up my alley, and I'd never seen it before, and I was really delightfully surprised by it.
That's great. How about Sarah? Let's go around.
I had not seen it, not heard of it, knew nothing about it. So I went in completely fresh. I don't know the director, anything about the director. So yeah, it was a fresh experience for me.
How about Jackie?
Yeah, same. No, I didn't know anything at all. I think we talked about how we wanted a more female-centric movie to watch, and I just was Googling
yeah,
feminists recent films, and this just popped up.
Cool. How about Jeremy?
Hi guys, I'm Jeremy from the old switcheroo.com and Jackie's husband. Yeah, like all of you guys, didn't know about it. Jackie and I are fans of Hereditary and Midsommar, and I know there was some crossover as far as directors and producers and whatnot. So honestly, kind of surprised. I never heard of this because I thought it was pretty good, and there's a lot to talk about with it.
Sweet. I had seen Saint Maud once, probably during COVID. That's when it officially came to the U.S. And I won't spoil what I thought of it, but saw it there. But I follow Rose. This is the first film, the debut film from Rose Glass, who's a pretty young director, British director, and she's only done one more since then, which I actually probably liked more, called Love Lies Bleeding, which was about female bodybuilding. So it's really good. But yeah, and I was just looking up, has she done anything else, or what's the rumor? And there's nothing. It's all quiet on what she's going to do next, but she's done those two, which are interesting. Cool. So I thought I could start with some basic, like we usually do, info about the movie before we kind of jump into talking about it. So it is officially a 2019 British psychological horror film written and directed by Rose Glass in her feature directorial debut. The star of it, who didn't even want to attempt to pronounce her name. I was going to say Morfydd, but apparently it's a Welsh name. It's pronounced Morvith, even though it's spelled like Morph. But anyway, Morvith Clark. And if you've watched the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, she's the star of that show. She plays Galadriel in a different era. But that's probably what she's best known for now. It was going to come out in the U.S. on April 10th, 2020, but something else happened around that time. So it was then eventually delayed all the way to finally get released in the US in 2021, January 2021. So it was one of those lost to COVID type of movies. Just a couple other weird, interesting things. In the movie, Maud's eyes are two different colors. One's blue and green and one's brown, but the actress only has blue eyes, so that was an effect. And what Rose Glass has said about it, she says, it always fascinated me that thousands of years ago, if somebody said they heard the voice of God in their heads, people would think a miracle had happened, or the person was some sort of saintly, revered figure. Now, if somebody says they hear the voice of God in their head, they get treated quite differently, don't they? Although the name Maud has Germanic origins, it means strength in battle. Rose Glass says the name was actually chosen for the pure sounding but somehow still bland appeal it might have to a newly pious woman, which is interesting. So let's chat about what we've got. I broke this into a few different chunks here, but right off the bat, kind of jarring. A nurse fails to save the life of a patient in her care despite attempting CPR. Very hard to even, this is sort of a summary of that, but very fast cuts, a lot of blood, a lot of freaking out. And then we cut to sometime later. This woman, referring to herself as Maud, has become a devout Roman Catholic and is working at a private palliative care, or as a private palliative care nurse in an English seaside town. She's assigned to care for Amanda, a hedonistic former dancer and choreographer from the United States who is terminally ill with stage 4 lymphoma. Amanda's embittered by her fate and confesses to Maud she fears the oblivion of death. Maud comes to believe that God has tasked her with saving the atheist Amanda's soul. Maud reveals to Amanda she sometimes feels God's presence, and she and Amanda appear to be overcome with ecstasy as they pray together. So I'll stop there. What was your kind of initial take? Maybe we'll start with Jeremy on this one, of how this movie opened.
Well, so the summary doesn't really portray the experience of the opening because you don't know what has happened in the beginning. You don't even really know if it's a flash forward or a flashback, but you see her, clearly very traumatized, leaning against this dirty shower wall with blood all over herself. And there's like a body hanging off a gurney. It's very jarring, very upsetting. And then, later when she's having a trauma flashback to it, you see exactly what happened it's interesting because she was attempting CPR and accidentally put too much force on a frail woman and just completely collapsed her chest, which is horrifying. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead to that moment, but what a horrifying moment to show us on camera at all. But then, I don't know. I don't want to talk for too long, but I just thought that was very, very compelling. And I would love someone else to talk about Amanda because I really like Amanda.
Yeah. Nice. How about Lisa?
Yeah, that first scene kind of set the mood for me because I didn't really know what to expect. As is usual with movies like this, it's mostly like possession or things like that, and that's not the case with this movie at all. It does have a tinge of horror in it, but it's not really. She's in every scene in this movie, and you don't follow anybody else. It is her story and it's her reality as it is. And so I actually thought that she had tried to kill herself in the beginning. You can't really, it's very shadowed and you can't really tell what has gone on. And I didn't even understand the body on the gurney. I was just like, whoa. And I kind of just wanted to take this whole thing in and not try to take notes and stuff like that. But I was a little confused in the beginning, but then that it shifts and she's packing and she's getting ready to go and do something. And it's very I don't know, just very organized and very loving with her putting her instruments in her suitcase and also the bubbling of the soup.
Yeah.
Which I was like, what is that? Okay, it could be blood. Oh, it's tomato soup. Okay, so she's trying to have a normal, calm evening before she goes and does something after this, whatever this traumatic event was, because I didn't really understand. It doesn't really matter what happened other than she was traumatized. There was blood involved. And so now she's starting a new thing. So that was what I was thinking of as I was going into it.
Nice. How about Jackie?
Okay. I have a lot to say. Okay. Immediately I was just really fascinated by the initial scene, which is traumatic, and then do people sometimes get into in their response to trauma seeking religion, but then does that actually not help them, and it actually causes religious psychosis because it's that's not really helping you heal from that trauma, right? I thought that was really interesting. It kind of didn't help her with her dark past, but it was something she sought. And then I loved this sort of sexual undercurrent of if you're repressing your sexuality, does this sexual energy come out in prayer? And I thought that was really interesting and cool. And there's so many layers to Amanda also, with her being this she's so embodied and she's a dancer, but then that's taken away from her because of cancer. But then was there this statement about her, or at least maybe the main character thinking she was punished, and there was this whole thread of punishment I found really,
Mm.
really interesting.
Mhm.
And also just like the whole premise is really fascinating of like the idea of a caretaker, a nurse just being totally like subverted. I found really
Mm.
interesting. So
Mm.
that's just some of my initial thoughts in like the beginning part. But I really love that scene where like Amanda, what's the main character's name?
Maud?
Katie
Katie.
officially. Yeah.
Yeah,
Katie,
Katie slash
where
Mom.
they like pray together kind of, but it's like, are you feeling him? Are you feeling him? But it's like they touch each other. But it
Mhm.
felt like an outlet for sex because it's like otherwise repressed, at least for Katie.
Yeah.
I think,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
well, Jackie's saying like the palliative care is a really interesting character, and I feel
Mhm.
like it's really good for horror because they are tied to this other person, and they have this
No
other
escape.
response. Yeah, there's this responsibility they need to tend to. So even when they themselves are unraveling, they can't just, fuck off and
Mm.
disappear because someone relies
Right.
on them, right? So that's really good for tension, and it's good for horror movies because you're keeping these two characters attached and in like kind of a confined space, even if it's like sort of a confining energy of Amanda's death. When she is talking about fearing the oblivion of death, I thought that was very well acted, very well written, felt very relatable. There's a scene we'll get to next where Katie is watching Amanda have fun, and she's hanging out with her friends, and you can't hear any of the dialogue because it's from across the room, but you see the moment when Amanda remembers, oh, I'm dying within the next week or so, or something like that. And it's just the way it's acted is so painful. But I also really liked Katie praying over her and saying, like, she acknowledged the wonderful things her body had done in the world, and like
Right.
actually
I like that
appreciated her as an artist. And I was like, okay, Katie could have been very one note, and I felt the character felt actually very rounded in that way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sarah, what's your take?
I wanted to talk about the setting a little bit.
Alexis.
Alexa goes off. I really liked the setting a lot. I thought like there was almost like a casino vibe, like to that town, which I thought made
I
it
initially
seem.
thought it was Coney Island. Like I felt like it was Coney Island. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
it's because the casino is called Coney Island.
Yeah. Right.
But I looked it up, and it's like, because I was like, why is everyone British if it's Coney Island? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, but like, I love that, and like, there's a scene where she hears like a couple fighting, and she slams the window, and it just sort of gives you this sort of sense of hostility in the world of like, okay, this world is like evil and hostile, and like, here she is, like you were saying, Lisa, like packing her little suitcase and keeping her grimy little apartment like spotlessly clean. It was like her little piece of control in this crazy, like evil, wild, upsetting world.
Yeah.
And then the house I thought was really, really cool. Like the wallpaper, every wallpaper print was like so
that
opulent.
Chevron wallpaper in her room is amazing.
Yes. And
Oh.
the one in Amanda's room too, that was sort of I don't know, like turn of the century. It looked like Gilded Age with these big, it looked like something that would be from like Megalopolis or something like that. Like just, it was so ornate, and I love that the house felt like something from another world. Sort of like an old school, like gothic horror. And kind of, I thought,
it was a huge climb up to the house too, like an old horror. It was great.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool because it was like you were saying, it was like the idea of this confined house, right? Is like sort of, and like really, women were kind of the architects of those original gothic horror stories about the big mansions and the which is kind of what like Jane Austen makes fun of in Northanger Abbey, when she, like, the main character is like so obsessed with reading those like types of books. But like, so I thought that was kind of cool. And I did not realize it was Jennifer, I don't know if you pronounce it Ale
Is that the Amanda?
EHLE. Yeah, she's Amanda. She is Elizabeth in my favorite Pride and Prejudice, which is the old BBC version from the 90s.
Right.
And I didn't recognize her at all. And she does a flawless American accent. And I was like, I thought she looked a lot like Sigourney Weaver, like
And
Sigourney
Meryl
Weaver
Streep,
in the
maybe.
80s.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah,
Meryl
Meryl-
Streep too. I can
That
see
Meryl
that.
Streep. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
So yeah, I'll stop talking. But yeah, I thought it was a really cool setting.
I wanted to jump on that because the setting, I feel like a dumber filmmaker would have made scary scenes happen in the Coney Island area.
Mhm.
And it would have been like a circus, but it's a little sinister. Whoa, you get it, right? But
Yeah.
in this movie, they never do that. But the closed boardwalk, for lack of a better term, with the Ferris wheel and the booths and
Mhm.
multiple shots in the movie, that's in the background, but the Ferris wheel's not moving. The lights aren't on. And I felt like it was this like symbol for like the end of innocence and like playtime's
Yes.
over and the
Mhm.
fun part of life is over and that's back there.
Well, or the fun part isn't fun because
Yeah.
it's not fun for her because she is living this, what do you call it, aesthetic? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Like a monk.
That type of
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Like a
Yes,
nun.
she's living
Yeah.
this nun lifestyle. So it's like to her, those things are evil. Like everything that is fun is like tinged with horror. Like she's afraid of having fun.
Right. Right.
And I guess we
yeah,
kind of learn why later in the movie, but
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna. I wrote a quote down for per Jackie's part, which I also know, which is like the whole physical, almost like orgasmic reaction when she's like channeling God. At least, Rose Glass on this says the idea of having a very physical, orgasmic, ecstatic reaction was important to me. We can all connect with the idea of wanting to transcend our body in some way and connect with something and feel a part of something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
To me, what's happening in those scenes in her head is that yes, there's religious ecstasy, but it's also tapping the same part of the brain that gets activated by sexual ecstasy.
Mhm.
So just, yeah, I think obviously it was intentional. I kind of liked the whole, I think it was like she was doing physical therapy with her legs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she leaned in and the cross got exposed and then she goes, oh, hello. And it was like that activated, like, and then to me, the rest of that whole scene was like, she was like a cat toying with a mouse, like trying to like make her think she's getting like, oh, I'm getting a little bit further in saving her, only to then swat the whole thing away. But I thought Amanda was great in that scene specifically too. Cool, let's move on to the next one. Maud becomes suspicious of Amanda's companion, Carol, who visits regularly and with whom Amanda has sex. She implores Carol to stop visiting because she believes Amanda's soul is in jeopardy due to distractions of the flesh. Carol is incensed by this, accusing Maud of homophobia, but Maud rebukes this, stating she would not care whether Carol were a man or a woman. Carol attends Amanda's birthday party anyway, and in front of Maud, informs the partygoers that Maud tried to drive Carol away. The party guests laugh at Maud, calling her Saint Maud, and wrap a cover on her head. Amanda mocks Maud for trying to save her soul and suggests she's a homophobic prude, jealous of her relationship with Carol. Maud strikes Amanda, and she is dismissed from her job. So I'll stop there. Jeremy, what's your take on that part?
Well, I think it was interesting because like when, this movie is good at not telling you what's happening right away and there's like guessing going involved because the first time you see Carol isn't the party, it's just her middle of the night.
Right.
And, Jackie thought she might have been like a sex worker just because the middle of the night, the kind of the energy, the way she was dressed or whatever.
I met her online.
Yeah. But like, regardless though, I really liked Carol and Amanda's relationship. Yeah. It felt very beautiful that like at the end of her life, she's still connecting with this person. And I also think Carol genuinely cared for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think you see that at the party. But just a shot that struck me from the party was everyone singing happy birthday. And Katie is just standing in the corner with plates and she's like completely in shadow. And she's so removed from the genuine like human connection. And so I think that's also part of why like she latches on to this perceived connection to God so badly is because she has no connection to people. So that was just a really well thought out scene, and I thought the camera work was really good.
Yeah, Jackie, you were weighing in. What's your take?
Well, I love what Jeremy said about this connection to God almost being like this, like, placeholder for her connection with other people. But what I really loved about this is like we didn't know how much of it was like jealousy, like how much of it I loved that like tension, and it was very like I love the whole like queer coded nature of it, of like how much of this is like her being jealous that Amanda's attention is elsewhere, how much of it is that she really does want her to focus on her healing. Is it both things are true at once? Like I just really like thought that development of that tension was like really compelling. And then I just thought it was really tragic, that whole, it felt like almost like a public humiliation sort of ritual thing where they put her that was really disturbing and like very telling of how I think some subcultures can be towards
religion,
and it's like
you're right. It's almost kind of like a crown of thorns, mock the king of the Jews thing. It's kind of it's interesting. Lisa, what's your take?
Interesting.
So this whole middle part where we're understanding the routines of the day, how close Amanda and Maud are becoming, and how you see, I mean, yes, Amanda is not, connecting with her, but you do see times when she does connect with her. And I feel like this is where the point where she's getting the idea that, oh, I can have this connection with this person and things are going to be okay, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you see her out walking again and she's on the cell phone with, I think, Joy, I think the person who she used to nurse with, and she's also playing with that lighter. And I was like, oh, Chekhov's lighter. I was like, nice job, director. I didn't know who the person whose director was at the moment, but nice job, Rose. So she's developing this routine, these things, and things seem to be better for her. And then the party with all of her crowd coming in, and it's just, I also feel like with Amanda that at this point in her life, at any time when she can cause an effect, even if it's not a positive one, is good for her because she still has something in this world, right? Mm-hmm. She's going to die really, really soon, right? And she's just like looking to feel anything at any time, which is where also I think that she also does connect with Maud in a way, right? But that level is not with these other people who she's used to being with, that crowd that she's used to going in. And so she's uses that opportunity to neg her, and they do that playful. They think it's fun and playful, and stuff like that, but it's not. It's really hurtful to her, and that's why she lashes out. Yeah. So then we're moving on to the next point. Yeah.
A moment that I truly adored was the little throwaway scene where Amanda's playing solitaire and she cheats, and Maud doesn't let her cheat.
Yes,
and goes,
right.
It's no fun if you cheat, and she moves the card for her, and it's just so.
And it's like, why the fuck do I care?
Right, but there's so many layers to that we're like, I need to control. I think I'm doing the right thing. I think I'm helping her see the error of her ways. And it was just so cringy. I was like, oh, I don't know. I feel like I might be that person who wouldn't let someone play solitaire wrong. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Sarah also wouldn't allow that.
There's no way. She would comment for sure. Yeah. Speaking of Sarah.
I thought this whole section of the movie was when it really crystallized a big theme for me in this movie that I thought this movie was conveying, which is the idea of religion being controlling. Because I feel like for Katie, it was about control, and it was about her doing something great for God, and not really yes, she wanted to save Amanda, but she didn't want to save Amanda for Amanda. Right. I don't think she really cared about Amanda. She wanted to do something good for God. So it was like this glory that she was looking for. And like you can see her getting so upset when things don't go her way. Like it's not you like I see her doing all these outward godly things, like serving and bringing things on a little tray, and like you can see her like about to lose her patience and just like like when she sees Carol, and it's like there's no real patience there. Like there's like the fruits of the spirit or whatever that you get from a relationship with God. It's not actually there, because she just gets upset when she's not getting what she wants. When things aren't going her way. And she thinks what she wants is what God wants. So it's like she thinks she's serving God, but it's like it's obviously very self-serving, but she thinks because it's painful, it's godly. And
Right.
I thought that was interesting too, this connection with like, if I hurt, if I suffer, then I'm a good person, and I'm not only am I good, I'm better than these other people, and I'm destined for these great things. Like the more I suffer. So
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
I had a note similar to that written down, which was to the point of like doing it for herself versus her, where she says, we don't need anyone else, when it's between Maud and Amanda, like as if they're just saying Maud's like the top priority is your salvation or me getting the credit for it, and we don't need anyone else that might comfort you while you're still here on this earth. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Get that out of the way. This is the primary focus, which is interesting.
Yes, even though her friends were bringing her comfort in the end too, it's like she didn't want that.
Share. Yeah. Exactly. What were you going to say, Jeremy?
It reminds me, so there are times where I'm put in a bit of a moral dilemma at work, because like my students might be more open-minded, I guess I would say, than their parents. And so, you know, the parents might not be approving of some of the behaviors or choices of their kid, but it's part of their belief system. And like when you genuinely believe that someone's soul is in danger, that's really serious.
Yeah, right.
And who am I to say that like you're not supposed to fear for your kid's soul or whatever? So it's this really tense, you know, conflict of trying to know what the right thing to do is. And so I really felt like Katie really embodied that, just with how all-consuming pleasing God was for her. And I also think she genuinely worried for Amanda's soul. I really think that she was worried that her friend was going to go to hell, and was genuinely trying to help her from her perspective.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this is the second to last big part here. So, believing that God has rejected her, Maud visits a pub to find companionship, but is rejected by most of the people she meets. She goes home with a man, and during sex suffers flashbacks of the death of her patient and her attempts at CPR, which causes her to stop. The man initially appears sympathetic, but then continues to rape Maud, who resists and then appears to disassociate. As she is leaving, he taunts her by revealing that he remembers her hooking up with a friend of his during her hedonistic past. How about Lisa? What's your take on this part?
This whole part made me sad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's times when you don't like Maud, because you know, you don't like this movement towards, oh, I have to suffer and I have to be in God's graces. But then I started to see all the desperation. Like she obviously, after that trauma in the beginning, found God and found a release, found a way to feel better about herself. And I feel that at this point, it's not the connection with God that she's really craving. It's this acceptance and this knowing and this it's okay, you know, it's okay kind of a thing, which she feels when she goes into those moments of ecstasy. And yeah, so we do have effects when she gets that. The lights flicker, and something even happens later on, which you're like, is this really happening or is it in her mind? But even if it is in her mind, who's to say it isn't real, right? So she's desperately clinging for anything that she can get acceptance and feel good about herself. And I hated every second of that. And like, you don't have to do that. But what is she really looking for, you know, with this relationship with God? And you're like, okay. And then also the next step, how much further is it going to go?
It's going to go. Yeah. How about Jackie?
I don't know, like what Lisa was saying. I just think it's really interesting that like like her faith in God wasn't enough. Like she needed the like physical reassurance. So then when she sought that in men, I just think that's very relatable to a lot of young women who feel like their like worth, their existence will be validated through these sort of like relationships with men. I found the like hand job scene very interesting when she was just like pleasuring him and said, wait, like I think she said like not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he did anyway. And then the sex scene when she's like, think, you know, like having some sort of flashback. And then he like assaulted her. This film was very feminist without being like those sort of like corporate feminist movies that are too on the nose, because every male character in this movie was just like horrible. Like
no, that one Amanda friend, he was all right. The friend of Amanda, they would get in the.
He wouldn't fuck her.
No, he wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, he wouldn't have sex with her? Is that what the issue was?
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. I missed that.
He like came to be with
Like
her,
he wasn't attracted to her anymore because of her, like the way her body had changed. That was what I thought.
So yeah.
That's not great.
Yeah, but this was like really interesting how she like went back to her dark past, and it's like, what is more insane? The dark past where you're like using men as like validation, or like religious delusions where, you know what I mean? Like I found that like very interesting to think about how we define like what is sane or not sane.
But this was also the scene where we see her writhing with God's presence, but in pain. It's like she's clutching her stomach like it's like an ulcer. And I thought that was really interesting because it made me think about how similar those two motions are, and how like a moan can be the best feeling in the world or the worst feeling in the world, you know? And like it's cringy to say, but like she's kind of in her own like heaven, hell, you know, dichotomy or whatever. Hey, dumb question, but in England, why are stovetops like barbecues?
Like
I saw
that. That's like that's
Lisa.
so interesting.
Like, right, Lisa?
I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah.
I was like, what was the clamp down thing? And then I saw she opened it up and put her hand on it. And I'm like, oh, it's a cooktop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no cans. It's just a cooktop. Yeah.
I like you were also intrigued. You're like,
Cool. Sarah, what's your take?
Well, I thought like her going back kind of to her past, like I think it felt very real to me, but at the same time it felt very again, this is why I thought the movie was sort of really, I guess, down on religion. Like I felt like it was kind of saying like religion is just another one of these things. Like, you know, looking for validation in drink or looking for validation in like these other ways. Like this is just another way to get it, because it's like as soon as she doesn't like feels like she messed up or like she ruined her like grand purpose or whatever. Or if you want to look at it another way, she didn't get what she wanted, which was to convert this woman and be the big hero. It was like she instantly goes, you know what I mean? The other way. So I thought it was interesting. But yeah.
Yeah. I had the same kind of thought about like, since she's on both poles, she like swings so wildly, like it was like the nurse, something happened, wildly religious. Now once that didn't work out, now I'm wildly insane to the point where I don't care if I'm just getting raped. It's like, well, whatever, who cares at any point, you know what I mean? She's just lying there like it said, disassociating. And then of course there's going to be another swing in the wild the other direction too. But it's like, I thought that was interesting that she's just angrily kind of questioning God. It's like, I did everything right, it didn't work, therefore I'm just going to go all the way down. It's like, and not care until something else happens soon. And then I thought that was interesting. Cool. Let's go to the final part here. There's two more. But while out walking, she encounters Amanda's new nurse and storms off when she realizes her replacement enjoys a good relationship with Amanda. In her decrepit apartment, Maud begs for a sign from God, who appears to tell her to be ready for an act that will demonstrate her faith. Repentant of her actions, Maud assembles, and I didn't know this term, a spunya, and I'll say in a second, for her right foot to practice mortification of the flesh. So yeah, just in looking that up too, that's in certain Christian penitential traditions, a spunya refers to a circular piece of cork embedded with metal studs, spikes, or needles. The object is used during acts of mortification on the flesh, where practitioners strike it against their bodies as a form of penance and to share in the passion of Christ. So I'll stop there before there's the final scene, which we know. But what was your take sort of on this almost religious moment type of a scene? Maybe Lisa.
Is this the moment when he speaks to her?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, right. Okay. So first of all, I was very confused about whatever that was, the bug, because she saw it when in the first scene too. When the other woman died. She like looked up in the ceiling and it was there. I'm like, what is that? And then I saw, and then it kind of disappeared into her wall with all of her religious artifacts. And then he speaks to her in Welsh, which I thought was very interesting. I didn't know, I watch everything with subtitles because I have issues hearing, and it says in the subtitles, it said in Welsh. I was like, what is that? Aramaic? And it's Welsh. Roaches reach the exactly. It goes boom, like it's another area. And I was like, oh wow, interesting. So is she spiraling down, or is she really having an experience? You know, is her misery so awful with herself, which it could be, but it's that's why I'm like it's not either way. It's not black and white. Experiences can be in our only in our head, in our delusion, but it can be also a shared experience too, which I do feel like she had with Amanda. I feel like she had a shared experience with Amanda, and that's neither here or there, because you know that really wasn't what Amanda was looking for. But she does that. The needles in her shoe, and she walks around with this beatific look on her face. She's glowing, you know, because she's in pain and she's connected, because she knows that. I don't know. It's just like I've never gotten into anything like that before, and it's so foreign to me. But at the same time, you can understand it for people who feel like they can't feel anything. You know, I understand self-harm. I understand self-mutilation. And now we're flopping it over into the area of religion, which they do have the flagellation, you know, and stuff like that. So she feels like she's back in God's graces. And this is the point where she raises right off the picture in the background, right? Now she's like, oh, everything's happening for her now. You know, she had to go through that point of doubt like Jesus did, you know? So anyway, and then I was like, what is she figuring out for the last scene? Oh, I was dreading it.
How about Jeremy? What's your take on this part?
Well, you know, I don't know if everybody knows this, but I dabbled in Catholicism for a couple of years. And so the whole floating scene, like, you know, to be an actual saint, you have to perform X number of miracles. I think it's 3, if I remember right. And so I feel like in her mind, her being lifted was the first miracle. And it was this confirmation to her that, oh no, you're really meant for more. God speaking to her was very much like the Vitch coded. I don't know if you guys remember that movie with Anya Taylor-Joy or whatever, but when the devil starts talking to her and it's that deep voice that's kind of coming from the speakers behind you. So that felt kind of very familiar, but the scene, what'd you call it, Kyle? The spoon, the spoon, yeah. Like I have seen every Saw movie multiple times, but that scene made me feel like I was gonna faint, because the actress stepping on it felt so real.
They were so long.
They were so long. And then the very next shot is her foot tenderly stepping down like the boardwalk, and there's just the faintest like squish sound, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like it was so brutal. I got dizzy.
How about Sarah? Speaking of getting dizzy over that.
Yeah, I didn't care for that. You know, I don't think I have much to add about this particular sequence, but I do know it was kind of interesting. Jeremy was talking about the saints and like the chest cavity of the patient like breaking. And didn't one of the saints like take out their heart or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
The
I didn't know if that was like a
Lazarus heart.
deliberate. What'd you say?
The Lazarus heart, I think. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, there was something about like taking the heart out. I feel like it's one of the saints or one of those like one piece of like Catholic iconography. And I'm not Catholic, so I don't know, but I did think it was sort of interesting that the collapsing of the chest would actually like pull out like that. So I didn't know if that was like supposed to be symbolic.
Saint Catherine of Siena is the saint who has her heart removed and replaced with Jesus's.
Oh,
Okay.
So,
that's crazy.
How about Jackie? What was your take on this part?
I was just really like interested in this idea of like punishment. Like the whole crux of Catholicism is that if you don't repent for your sins, you're like detached from God and you'll go to hell, and hell is the ultimate punishment, you know. And if that's like in your psyche, like I just think that threat of violence is really interesting, and that her form of repentance was to commit violence on herself as a way to like seek forgiveness. Like,
Yeah,
I just found that all really like interesting, because it's kind of like this acceptable form of self-harm to her.
yeah.
When like fucking random dudes at the bar societally isn't a acceptable form, or even like doing, I think she actually did do some other forms of self-harm, but then like in her mind it's like if it's to seek forgiveness from God, like it is acceptable. Who can blame her though? Like when Catholicism, like hell is so violent, like there's violence in that religion. So yeah, that's all.
I was just gonna say, Sarah brought it up when we were talking about it, that the God voice almost sounded like Adam Driver, which we thought, but when I was looking it up this morning, it's actually the actress's Morvith. It's her voice slowed down, and lines you hear, Maud's delivering them, and we pitched her voice down, so it actually is still her talking to herself in her head, which is kind of interesting.
Freaking genius.
Not like outright saying something. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
But like that they thought to do that just for like, because the symbolism to them, but no one in the audience knows that. But maybe subconsciously though, we do pick up a similar. Wow, that's one of the coolest behind the scenes tidbits you've ever shared, Kyle. Jackie mentioned the self-harm and what's acceptable or whatever, and it made me remember the scene where she is ripping off her own burn scab.
Oh, yes,
and it's amazing because like Sarah's cringing again. I was getting dizzy because it seems so painful, but it's not a complex makeup effect. It's just her peeling the fake scab off, but she's such a good actress. And it's this close-up of her agony on her face as she's sweating and breathing faster. And it's like, that's what really good acting can do in a horror movie, is that you master this feeling so cheaply. So props to her for that.
I had the same thing too. Like Lisa, you were saying, like when she's walking down the street and you can tell she's almost enjoying it, the pain, but it was also just sort of like, to me, like these people around me they don't even know I'm going through this. I'm such a martyr, it's.
And in fact, they might look at her and go, and in fact, they did in the bar that she wasn't in that pain in that moment, but they're like, what's wrong with her? You know, that disconnect from the world in general. Yeah.
Okay. Final part. That night, Maud, dressed in a makeshift robe and wearing rosary beads, enters Amanda's house after the care nurse leaves. She finds Amanda in bed, weakened. Amanda asks forgiveness for mocking her faith, and Maud joyously reminds her of the time they experienced God's presence. Amanda reveals she feigned the experience, and she believes God is not real. Maud recoils in horror as a now demonic Amanda hurls her across the room and mocks her for needing to prove her faith. In a delirious frenzy, Maud stabs Amanda to death with a pair of scissors. In the morning, Maud wanders onto a beach and douses herself with acetone before horrified onlookers. She utters her last words in Welsh, "Glory to God," as she self-immolates. In her last moments, angel wings appear upon her, and the onlookers kneel in awe as Maud looks up to the sky, glowing with grace. The scene then smash cuts for a split second to the reality of Maud being burned alive and screaming in agony. So, on that note, how about we start with Jeremy?
Oh, I want to hear Jackie's take first.
Okay, Jackie.
And then I want to go.
Oh, okay. I loved the like wings for some reason, like these
Your
sort.
room too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I love the like effects of the wings. I thought that was super cool. I just love how like the final scene, like she's a prophet, she's like an angel, but then it like the final scene actually switches to her just being like a normal person that's dead, because that's like, it got me thinking of like what would have happened if we like medicated prophets with antidepressants, you know? Like what like would she have been a prophet if she lived in the right era? And like were prophets just going through psychosis? Were they schizophrenic? Like, or were they actually prophets? Like, I just thought that was like a very interesting like juxtaposition. Yeah.
Nice.
Wasn't that the whole like biblically accurate angel thing, that like a human being can't look upon an angel because it's so powerful and otherworldly that it would like turn you into salt or something? But I also thought the wings were really striking. So I realized in this discussion that I misread the final act of this movie, because in my head the God voice told her to kill Amanda, but that's not what the God voice asked her to do, because she was already collecting the acetone and preparing her own suicide before she went to Amanda's house. So the act that God asked her to do in her mind was the self-immolation.
Yeah, I think so.
But I was reading an interview with the director, and they were talking about how after some showings, this person came up and said, I love the last shot of showing Katie burning in hell. And that was that person's read.
Wow.
Because, and it's interesting, if you look at the shot, the background is suddenly dark.
Yeah, it is.
And it's only her and I think that was one of the more striking ends of a horror film I've ever seen. And the smash cut of her screaming as her body just, it's so upsetting.
Yeah. And
then it just cuts to the title and it's dead quiet and you're like, whoa. Like, that was really intense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Lisa, what's your take?
Yeah, so I actually didn't think about that, about her being hell. I thought it was reality. But now that you say that, I mean, obviously, suicide, which is what she's doing, is, we'll send you to hell. We've all seen Constantine. Hopefully you guys have. So I did think it was kind of interesting, her going over and trying one last time to save Amanda, and it seemed like it was going okay until this. I'm like, I got a little disconnect with the demon face and her getting thrown across the room. There was a little bit of disconnect in that. Everything else I could see could be in her mind or something that she was experiencing, and I didn't know if that was real or not, whatever, for her, like God, obviously God would not do that, and that's more of a demon thing in my mind, whatever. So I was like, okay, good. So okay, so I know what's going to happen now. She's going to do this thing, and she's going to say that for God I am doing this, which is God never asks for that, even at the last minute when I think it's Abraham, I can't remember, asked him to sacrifice his son, and at the last minute, no, yeah. So, anyway, so yeah, and Jeremy, I really liked that you told that thing about like, oh, she isn't help because she's a Catholic and she committed suicide,
Just to be clear, though,
I mean, also she murdered someone 5 minutes before.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah.
Just about an hour ago, she did.
Yeah.
But the filmmaker said like, oh, it's wonderful how people have different reads of it, and she really enjoyed that. But so to be clear, I don't know if that was the intent, but the filmmaker is kind of saying like valid read, and that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Sarah, what's your take on that?
Sorry. I loved the burning on the beach scene. I thought it was such a cool look to it. It looked like the old paintings, right? Of like the glorification of Jesus, right? When the transfiguration, a lot of the pictures of the transfiguration where he's, glowing and stuff like that. So I really loved that. I thought that was really cool. And I really thought it brought into focus, again, the thesis of the movie, which I think is that, I think the movie is very hard on religion. I think the movie is saying, like, look at what religion asks people to do. Horrible things to themselves, live this life where they don't have any friends and they can't enjoy anything. And look at people as just these objects to be manipulated for their own, like, oh, so you can feel like you saved somebody. And then you even kill them when they don't convert because you're like, you're a demon. And then finally ends her own life. And then that little glimpse of reality was like the perfect way to just be like, look, what a waste.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of my read on the movie. I thought everything that seemed spiritual was probably her perception or her mental illness. It definitely didn't seem like she was, mentally all there. So, but I loved it. I thought it was a beautiful scene.
I like the part to that last point where, like, before she gets killed, Amanda she says, first of all, you made me think of things I didn't want to, which I thought was a good line. Mm-hmm. And then also he's like, he isn't real. You must know that, which to me almost like summed up the final scene where you see this whole thing. It's like,
yes.
Here's the reality.
I agree. I felt like that was the filmmaker saying that almost like to us, like, you gotta know.
Yeah. Cool. So let's go wrap this baby up here. Best and worst parts. What was your favorite part? What do you think was not so great part? Maybe start with Jeremy.
I think this movie's really good. It's hard to pick a worst part because I don't know if there was one particular moment that, brought it down. It's a difficult movie to critique because it's not trying to entertain you. I don't even really know if it's trying to scare you.
Yeah.
It's trying to get under your skin and make you really think about this human psyche and our relationship with the unknown and death and God and all that stuff. So best part, I think, is the smash cut. I think it's the last 0.4 seconds of the movie of her just screaming, because that feeling, it just lingered on me, and I can't stop. I'm looking at a picture of her right now. I can't look away from it. It's
you just got that picture up.
I do, as a second screen. Well, because it's the juxtaposition of the holy face and then as Jackie is suspecting, her actual face. And so I guess worst part is that I feel like I kind of detached from the movie a bit. I don't know exactly why, but I wasn't emotionally in it until really the end. So I guess there's something about the way the kind of sleepy town scenes are shot where she's walking around and just looking at the ducks, and it just kind of, I don't know, killed the tension build for me. So I guess that's my worst part.
Got it. How about Lisa? What's your take?
So I'll say this again. I do think the worst part was the demon face on Amanda. I don't think it was necessary. I really don't think so. I think she could have said something so hateful to her in that moment, these last moments of her life, that she could have been like, why can't you just, and so like I was really taken out of at that moment. There was one moment that we haven't talked about. It was really a very small moment when she's walking on the boardwalk and somebody asks for some change. And she gave him some change and said, I think she said, don't waste your pain.
God bless you, and don't waste your pain.
And don't waste your pain. And he was like, what? And she's like, nothing. And she walks away. And I was like, whoa. I mean, you can take that in so many ways, but she's always in pain, and so it's a very, very interesting thing for her to say to somebody who, is probably okay, but in periods has pain. He's on the streets, he's, stuff like that. So I was just like, that's a moment,
Yeah.
Can I just talk about that? Because I'm really glad you brought that up, because I totally forgot about that line, but I actually thought that was a really important line because, okay, I've heard don't waste your pain in sermons before. So as a Christian sitting through sermons, I've heard pastors say that phrase. So I've heard it before, right? So the idea is like, okay, you're in pain, connect with God through your pain. Don't just sort of think about yourself and do you know what I mean? Focus on only how you're feeling, but let that drive you to maybe console someone else who's in pain or reach out to others or whatever. But I thought it was interesting because I thought the whole movie said that she did waste her pain, that all of her pain was just a waste.
Yeah.
So I actually thought that was like a really important line because it's like, and because I think when she was praying, she said it too. Like, she's like, please help me not to waste my pain. And I was like, all your pain is a waste. All of it is a waste.
Yep. I think it's the idea of pain for another's sake is very artist oriented as well, because as an artist, I have taken that as well, things that are painful for you and turning them into art and a communication that other people much in the same way that people can be like, that touched me, thank you, that kind of a thing. So it was such a great line, and I remembered it in the middle of this, and I was like, I didn't mention it, I need to mention it now.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Because I did think that was really important.
What's your best and worst, Sarah, over here?
No worst. I can't think of anything. Like, I feel like every scene belonged in the movie. Like, there's not a scene that I was like, oh, that one I don't think belonged or something like that. I think the best scene was the burning on the beach. I do think the movie slowed a little bit once Amanda was kind of out of it in that last maybe third. I really liked better the scenes with her and Amanda.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, nice. How about Jackie?
I do want to add on a little bit to this whole don't waste your pain conversation. Because I just think it's really interesting. Like, her relationship with God is like, when she went through pain, when she went through trauma, it's like, don't waste your pain, seek a stronger relationship with God. I'm wondering if in her religion, there is this like shame regarding mental health and therapy. So then it's like, don't waste your pain. When you're in pain, seek God. But then look at where that
bleeds if you don't seek treatment.
Yeah. But we have no idea how she got into this. I mean, she may have gone to church, but she don't know about her conversion or who helped her, or if there was a therapist who tried to help her too. We don't know any of that. So it's
I know. I think the unknown is interesting though, and these little hints of that, and these hints of this like extreme rigidity. Like, maybe I'm thinking that there was shame regarding her mental health. But yeah, the hardest part for me to watch was when she was assaulted by that guy. It was so believable because I just feel like it captured that. I mean, it's hard to talk about, but it captured not this sort of stereotypical violent rape we think of, but just the lack of consent that so many women have experienced, that it was actually like really hard for me to watch that. I was like, oh,
there's a murmur of a no in the middle of everything, and it's ignored.
Yes.
No, it's
That
not
was really
ignored. It's full on defied. He says like he doesn't even accept it.
But that's not the worst part at all. That was very like authentic. It was just hard for me to watch. There really wasn't a worst part for me, but I'm with Sarah in that the last like quarter of the film was really powerful to me. I love this like illustration of this clash of like reality and fantasy, with her like just walking around with her robe in these streets, like Sarah was saying in the beginning, of this like dirty sort of evil setting, and then she's this like prophet with her
wings.
robe. I love that like visual clash, and I loved the ending as well. Like that was really, really good. And that was my favorite.
Nice. I think I didn't really also have a worst. Maybe the marketing for the movie, where people were expecting it to be like a horror movie when it's
full-on horror,
not. Yeah, maybe that. And then I also love the smash cut at the end, like just that whole scene as well. But so cool. Let's do, before we give our scores and this thing, there's a couple other reviews, quotes, other things from this movie to kind of like prime you to give your score. It says Rose Glass originally wrote Maude with a more explicit backstory, but removed most of it in the final draft as she found it too similar to Carrie, Stephen King's Carrie, saying in early drafts the character's backstory was quite different. She had this very extreme religious upbringing, went to Catholic school, all that stuff. But I just felt like a story I'd seen before, and I wasn't one I was particularly interested in retelling. On the aggregator site, Rotten Tomatoes, it holds a 92% positive. The website consensus reads a brilliantly unsettling blend of body horror and psychological thriller. Saint Maud marks an impressive debut for writer-director Rose Glass. The director, Danny Boyle, described Saint Maud as a genuinely unsettling and intriguing film. Striking, affecting, and mordantly funny at times, its confidence evokes the ecstasy of films like Carrie, The Exorcist, and Jonathan Glazer's Under the Skin. In a review for Common Sense Media, Danny Brogan wrote, deeply unsettling yet superb first feature film from director-writer Rose Glass. The psychological horror is far more than just jump scares, though there are plenty of those too. At the heart of Saint Maud is loneliness and how it can manifest. Maud is a deeply lonely character whose need for redemption and a desire to belong all contribute to form a dangerous cocktail with devastating consequences. And then in July 2025, The Hollywood Reporter ranked it number 15 on its list of 25 best horror movies of the 21st century. Yeah, and then I think the only other thing I had was, this is interesting. So this is actually referring to what Jeremy had seen with the angle about the final scene being, you're going to hell. Rose Glass responded to that and said, it wasn't her intent, but if you did interpret this as Maud misinterpreting God throughout the whole film, then she's just murdered somebody. It makes sense she'd go to hell, Glass said. Whatever's going on between her and God, yes, maybe there is something spiritual there, but I think by that point, something that had started off as faith has now mutated into a dangerous sort of delusion. So final topic here. I don't know, for those that are tuning in, Jeremy, can you educate us on the Strauss scale, how we rate these movies?
Yeah, Strauss scale, born from the COVID Zoom movie watches my family would do. Rated out of 10. If you did not regret watching it, it starts at a 5, and follow your heart from there. So
how about, why don't you kick us off, Jeremy?
I definitely think it's one of those movies that gets better the more you think about it, the more it sits with you. I want there to be more movies like this.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it was attempting something that a genre, like a thriller, a horror, a comedy, like all of those goals are way too simple for what they're trying to pull off here. I think it's a really cerebral, really smart film. So I would say it's around an 8 that gets a bonus point up to a 9 for being thought-provoking and feeling kind of important.
Nice.
It's a 9 for me.
How about Lisa?
Yeah, I would definitely score it in that area too. Don't know if I want to watch it again. just because the only reason that I would watch it would be from a filmmaker's perspective. It was beautiful. It was well acted, well shot, well written, everything like that. But I got it. I got the message, and I was definitely left saddened, by that whole thing. But I think it's a good message. So definitely an 8 for me.
Nice. How about Sarah?
I think between a 7 and an 8 for me. I feel like this is a really solid movie. I feel like it's really well made. I feel like I said, there's not even one thing that I could say like, oh, I would take that scene out and it would make a stronger film. I think it's a really strong film. But kind of what Jeremy was saying earlier, I felt, which is I just didn't feel a connection with it. And I don't know what that is. And I don't know how to explain it. I feel like on paper, this is the type of film I would really connect with. And I just didn't. But I think it's a really great movie. Like, I can acknowledge, like, I feel like it was really well done, and well shot and well acted and like so many good things. But just for me personally, I didn't feel, whereas like, for example, with Melancholia, where I just felt so compelled to watch and felt so emotionally invested in what was happening, I didn't feel that with this movie. So that's why it gets a lower score, even though I think it was a really well-made movie. So I'd say between a 7 and an 8. If I had to pick, I guess I'd give it an 8.
Sarah, you did make me laugh during the climax. I know you weren't around, but when she scissors Amanda to death, I just thought, scissor me, like tether me, and I was just like, damn it, Sarah, like you ruined this moment for me.
Scissor me.
How about Jackie?
Yeah, this movie's right up my alley. So I'm between like a 9 and 10.
Nice.
Like I was at a 9, but then like talking to you guys, I'm like, oh, I like thought of different things. So I'm like close to a 10, but I just like Jeremy was saying, I think it's really important. I think it's new. I think it's like very like thematically relevant. So yeah, it was, and I'm like Sarah, like I really connect to it, which is interesting. Like I really, really connected to it, probably more than Melancholia, just because of like my own past with like self-destructive behaviors. So yeah,
I think this had a darker message. I think this had a darker message than Melancholia.
Yeah,
and I think you connect more with darker things than I do, just historically.
Yes, for sure. Yeah,
and Melancholia was no picnic, but it was not as dark as this.
Yeah. I think I was going to say an 8, but in talking to it, I probably would say a 9 for me. 10. Wait, what is this 10? You're sending 10. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, you wanted it to be a 10. Yeah. I'm close. I don't know. It's very hard for me to say what would make a 10 because I have very few critiques, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's a solid 9 and definitely a lot of nice things to say or great things to say and kind of like really impressive debut right out of the gate. Like it's an amazing first movie. So, you bunch of 10s. Okay, Jeremy's celebrating Jackie's score for those not in the chat. Cool. So let's end this. Thank you guys for coming to this. I'm very excited that next month we will be talking about Troll 2. Very excited about that. So for Halloween, come to the Troll 2 one. But where else can we find you around the internet? How about Lisa?
Well, you can just find me here in Stream Team. I'm not really out and about because I work really hard. You know this. But I think I'm going to try to come back a little bit more because I'm watching a lot of scary movies that I've wanted to watch. I just watched, I think, one of the most horrifying movies that I've ever seen called It Follows. And it is amazingly scary and it gets your imagination really going. It's not the usual jump scare slasher. And I like those too. That's fine. But so I'm going to be coming in and I want to see some other stuff too. So yep, the sexually transmitted curse. Exactly. Yeah. So I'll pop back in and say, I saw this the other day. What does everybody think?
I love it. How about Sarah?
You can't catch me on the internet. You catch me outside.
Wow.
I'm on Blue Sky, but that's it. And I'm not on there that much. And yeah, can't wait to talk about Troll 2.
All right. How about Jackie?
Yeah, sorry. Don't find me.
All right, you're in seclusion. Both of them are in seclusion. Okay.
Mr. Lebowski's in seclusion in the West Wing.
I will shamelessly promote KylesJunkDrawer.com this time. One of the 2 newsletters that I do. But check it out. It's just weird stuff.
Absolutely, check it out.
Oh, thank you. And then I will end it with Jeremy.
Yeah, if you like old video games, www.theoldswitcharu.com. We're a retro gaming podcast. Sarah, Jackie, and Kyle are on episode 2 this season, and Sarah and Kyle are making a cameo appearance in our finale. Yeah, so come check it out. It's a good time, and thank you for hosting, Kyle. This is always fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys for coming. We will see you for Troll 2.